Chrissy. Happy podcast day.
Hi, Kristen Ziman.
Welcome to the Disruptors Creed podcast. I'm Kristen Ziman, and I'm shocked you're here. I'm here with my intern, Chris Tunney.
Co-host.
For those of you new here, this podcast is for the brave, the bold, and the beautifully restless, the ones who refuse to let the status quo seduce them into sitting still. Around here, we don't wait for permission. We don't wait for signs from the universe, and we sure as hell don't wait for clarity. We create it. Oh, what a great tee up for this week's topic.
You needed a little clarity this week.
This has been a week. It's been a week. I created my own chaos, so I had to create my own clarity, hence the cold open. So what we're talking about this week is clarity is never coming. This is literally the thesis, is that you can paralyze yourself into decisions that you have to make. And you can try to continue to keep bringing in data points that are going to assist you in making the decision. And that clarity is never coming. So I suppose if you've been waiting for the right time, this episode's going to hurt a little, but don't worry, it's going to hurt so good.
But don't you think that part of the reason is that clarity never comes is because everything is always evolving, ever changing. So if you're waiting for everything to align right, or let's say you've answered one question and you're trying to answer the second question, but then something changes because everything is constantly moving and rearranging. Clarity I think clarity is something that I can become clear in the direction that I want to go in, but that I always know before I make the decision that this is the perfect decision. Like that never happens. It's just, I make the best decision I can with what information I have at the time. And after I make the decision, if it was wrong or something needs to be reevaluated, it's not being afraid to go back and going, okay, now this has changed, so the decision has to change.
Yeah, I think that is true of anything. You're always going to have an evolution of data that is coming in, or a constant trickle, hopefully. And you know what? I've also found that decisions, the ones that are really easy, are the easy choice between like a certain right and a certain wrong. Those are so easy. But most of our decisions are based on a lot of rights. Like you could choose your own adventure and it's going to be fine, or you could choose this other adventure and it's going to be fine, but different, right? But so I don't think that it's necessarily the clarity, because I think most people intellectually, conceptually understand that they don't have all the information. They have to make the decision based on what they have. I don't think it's clarity they're looking for. They lack courage, because ultimately it is a risk. Whichever road that you choose to diverge upon is the unknown. And that's the problem. If we knew the way the thing was going to end, if we knew the outcome, then making the decision would be easier. So it is the fact that we just don't know the ending. And so we're scared. So we freeze.
When we were working, for me, I made decisions in the moment because I was on the street, or, I was working a case or interviewing a suspect. Like I didn't have time to think about things and figure it out. You just did it. And, you did the best you could with what you had. But your phone rang 24/7 with people who had questions for you and decisions that needed to be made. And some of them were really difficult because you can't please everyone. So when you would do that, how would you get to the finish line?
Well, I think that there's a whole bunch of decision-making models, right? Let's talk about, in leadership moments where, someone's coming to you. In many instances when, especially in police work, and here's the thing, life isn't typically that deep, or decision-making isn't that urgent. You can take the time and you can get some feedback. There are times, however, where you have to make a decision immediately when the defecation is hitting the oscillation, and we don't have time to get feedback from all of the invested people. So we just have to make the decision based on what we know in the moment, and that's what we had to do in policing. And I think that's why I am the way I am, is, as you know, when you're on the street with no formal rank or authority, you're still making decisions. You're calling the shots on the streets. And I think because of that, we didn't have time to waste, and I didn't spend a whole lot of time thinking about the outcome. As I moved up the ranks, sometimes that bit me in the ass because I would make a decision so fast, and I would later realize that was the wrong decision. And I did have time to vet it. I just made a decision in my quote ivory tower, at my mahogany conference table, that affected the entire police department. And I didn't take the time to vet it. So I think there's a distinct difference there of what kind of time do you have to make a decision. But what used to frustrate me in when I was a sergeant and in middle management as a lieutenant, is I would shoot something up the chain of command that needed an answer, whether it was an answer that I needed or I needed an answer for one of my officers, whether it be, hey, can they go to this training class, or it's a policy decision or something that was unclear about a directive and I need the answer. And it just goes into this black hole. And that is when I started to have like a visceral reaction to people who can't make decisions. And I would then follow up through my chain of command properly. Where's the answer to this? We've been waiting, for a week, and well, it's on the commander's desk. It's on the chief's desk. We're waiting for it to go. And I just remember thinking, oh, how ridiculous that is. This is not a life and death decision. This is not a decision that should take that much time. And yet here you're you know, really stalling and not realizing how it is affecting the people that work for you. So I vowed never to do that. So I just called that middle management purgatory. And so, but back to your question is like, how do you make decisions? Well, I think it depends. Like, first of all, you have to simply carve out time to make the decisions. Case in point, the ones that would just sit on someone's desk. It's like, how about you prioritize your people? And there are people waiting for answers. And so I find that most black holes of decision making are as a result of people who like literally just stall the process because either they can't make a decision or they won't make a decision. Either one, it's detrimental to the organization.
You have quite a few people who still call you professionally and personally to ask you about issues they're dealing with in their life, whether it's personal or business, and you dole out this advice. And sometimes I'm there and I hear it, and sometimes I don't. And sometimes when I hear it, it's really good advice. I'm listening to it. And then 2 months later, that person or people, because there's a few of them, will call again and ask the same question and has not made one decision or one step in furtherance to make that decision. I think that's what I struggle with the most, is the people who are paralyzed. And even when they have all the information they need, whether it's emotional or whatever it is, they cannot take a step in furtherance to make a decision.
Yeah, but see what you're describing there is a choice in someone's personal life, right?
Some of
think
it's business. I mean, I'm talking about, you get calls by other chiefs. You get called by people in our lives that are calling you strictly for professional reasons.
Yeah, but that's on them if they don't. Here's the other thing about giving advice, right? And that's a great point, is I love to talk through things with people. I really do. I mean, we have whiteboard sessions. I love these conversations that I have with people. They're like, okay, I've got to make this decision. Let's whiteboard it. My favorite thing to do. But at the end of the day, you can't make someone move.
Right.
And then I think that at that point, I just tap out like, oh, okay. But then, or comes a time in everyone's life when they honestly just need to make a decision as a committee of one. And I've been doing this lately with the decision that I have to make, is that I keep vetting it with different people and I keep getting different answers. I think you should do this, and I think you should go down this path. And then someone else will say, ooh, you know what? No, I liked the other path. Now, what am I supposed to do with all that feedback, right? And so We just talked to our son this morning, who he and his girlfriend are about to embark on a decision. And you heard what I told him. Um, just listen to what I say, listen to what you say, listen to what all of everyone else says, and then just have everyone shut up and just be quiet. Because at the end of the day, you know in your quiet moment what you want to do and what you need to do. And I'm not going to press him anymore because he's going to make a decision that is best for he and his girlfriend and what they intend to do. So there is a certain point in time where I recognize that even my feedback, it's just because I gave someone feedback, they are under no obligation to take my advice whatsoever. And I have to stop getting frustrated at people who are indecisive because I've offered my opinion, and it's hard for me to watch people who just sit and, because not making a decision, by the way, is a decision.
Yeah. Listen,
Like
you know
sitting there and
I'm
doing nothing about something that you need to make it. See, that frustrates me more than anything. It's like you're just not making a decision, so that's a decision.
no, listen, I'm going through that with my father. You know that. He's got a decision to make. He needs
Oh.
to make this decision. And we have had 20-second opinions. We have had, going to different specialists. He just has to make a decision. And whatever decision this man makes, my sister and I love him we respect whatever decision he makes, but he just won't make one. But,
Mm-hmm.
in that not making a decision, that would be fine if it didn't constantly affect him in the way that he's always worried about it.
Mm-hmm.
He's
Sure.
always stressed. He's always stressed out. He's always worried about it because he doesn't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
But if he would just make a decision one way or the other, maybe he wouldn't constantly fixate.
Yeah, and that's once again completely out of your control. That, I mean, you're
Oh
making my
yeah,
point.
without
Is
a
like
doubt.
he's a grown ass man, and you've offered your opinion, and you've helped him get other opinions. And I mean, I guess that's what we're talking about. Is I think that this is where we have to relinquish control when other people have to make a decision. Now, here's what we can do though: is we can set the boundaries, because the same people having to make the same decisions who still haven't made the same decisions and call and have the same fucking problems. It's like I don't know what to tell you. You know what you need to do, you just haven't done it. And so that's the point where I have to just tap out, and they have to live with their decision or indecision. But I can't keep doing the same thing over and over, because that literally is the definition of insanity.
You know what? And the interesting part is that I had a friend do that to me.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody I love very much, and I was really struggling with a decision. And I would call and I would talk to her about it. And finally, one day, she said to me, "I can't do this with you anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're driving me crazy." And we stopped being friends for
Mm-hmm.
quite some time, not because we didn't love each other, but because I was making her crazy because I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't make a decision.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely wasn't making the decision she wanted me to make, because she could see very clearly what was wrong. And she
And
could,
what you needed to do. Yeah,
and
we
here's
all
the
have
thing,
that.
at the end of the day, she was right,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
but I wasn't ready to deal
Mm-hmm.
with her being right. And we actually, our friendship kind of fell away where we stopped talking to each other for, my God, I think almost 2 or 3 years. And I
Mm-hmm.
just so happened to be getting off an airplane, coming back to Chicago from a conference, and she was getting on that airplane. So
Mm-hmm.
she was sitting in the chairs, and I remember seeing her, and we hugged so hard. And our friendship has been back intact ever since, like nothing ever happened, because she did not love me. I did not love her. I was just driving her crazy, and I
Yeah, she was
couldn't get to
frustrated.
where she wanted me to be. So it's
Sure.
so, like, that's kind of the cool thing for me to look at it, was like, my inability to make a decision drove somebody away that I really cared about.
Mm-hmm.
And that made me really think about my behavior.
We can see so clearly when, what everyone else needs to be doing. And so, I think we just have to absolve ourselves of that, and find peace in the fact that they're going to make the decision in their own time, and they are on their own journey to do that. But I do think you have to then set boundaries if you're constantly, saying the same thing over and over and it's dragging you down, This is both about leadership and our personal life. This is like how leaders make decisions. And I can tell you that I learned a lot from being a young supervisor that just couldn't stand the fact that decisions weren't being made. And then I remember I was told, oh, no, no, well, we only meet in our Monday morning command staff meeting. And so I was like, oh, so no decisions get made then anytime outside of your Monday command staff meeting. And so when I became the chief, I said, that is total bullshit. And if decisions need to be made, let's meet every day for a half hour and like what's on our desks, what needs to be hashed out. So our people aren't waiting for decisions. And if it were things that needed to be delved into a lot deeper, where we needed to get some legal advice, well, let's make that happen then. Let's get that meeting on the calendar. Let's go. And, then, Zoom became the platform after COVID where we can make quick decisions because everybody can just jump on a quick Zoom. Let's hash it out, right?
And I think that's also bigger because, um, you weren't afraid to make the decision and you knew that everybody wasn't going to be happy, but you always tried to look out for the majority and the best interest of the police department. When you finally became the chief, people could come and say, I need a decision. And you would make that decision. And it didn't take you 6 months to make a decision. There were things that, yes, you researched a little more. There, like letting people have tattoos. You took the time to research with our community, with our officers, with the stakeholders, the people that it would affect. And then you made a decision.
This was such a big deal in our city and our agency. We were turning away people as new hires because they had tattoos. And they had them on, sleeve tattoos on their arm, or let's call them visible tattoos. And we have a strict policy. There's no visible tattoos.
They had to wear sleeves if they wanted to work for us.
Yes, they had to wear a sleeve. Yes, or they had to wear long sleeves in the
so
summertime.
We weren't turning them away. They were choosing not to work for us because they had to keep them covered.
Right.
Let's just be clear.
Well, we lost some candidates that were just like, well, I'm just going to go work for another agency that doesn't have this stupid rule. So I thought, okay, I want to really do my due diligence here. I want to make this decision thoughtfully. I don't want to just knee-jerk make this decision. And here is why. Because I heard from someone in the community that said these words to me. I am very scared of people with tattoos. For some reason, there is an association with gang membership and violence. And so this whole idea of tattoos was just an automatic reaction of fear. And if an officer, rolls up to her house, she said she would be fearful of a police officer with a tattoo. I took that very serious. I mean, this is our community. And I thought, well, gosh, if we don't have to instill fear in our people, then let's not. Well, then I hear from the other side that says, listen, gone are the days where tattoos are only for those in prison and in biker gangs, and they're not violent. They're expressions of creativity and the other side of the argument. I had officers coming in saying, please lift this policy. I had other officers coming in saying, please don't. We like the tradition. So I decided to put a survey out and I did it with the community. And I thought, okay, the community will speak. Let's just let them. And it came back, no shit, 50-50. It was like 50 people were in favor of tattoos and 50% of people were not. And it was at that point that I thought, sometimes feedback is stupid. First of all, they're not gang members that are showing up. If you call 911 and a caring, compassionate police officer shows up at your house and they happen to have tattoos on their arm and they are there to help you in your time of need, then you know what? You're not going to turn that help away. And so I got just pragmatic. And then I decided enough with the feedback. And I just, committee of one, you can show your tattoos. And it's just so funny. That was like all of that thought process that went into it. I'm like, sometimes you just don't need to have that many, and you're going to get a split decision. So people are going to be pissed off anyway. So just make the stupid decision, and deal with the consequences of the people who are upset about it, but be able to articulate the why behind the decision that you're making. And that to me makes all the difference. Communication versus notification. Here's the decision I've made. Here are the reasons why. You can be upset, but hopefully you'll respect how I got to that decision. And that's how I operated.
And obviously there's different levels of just, all, like you said earlier, decisions are not that deep. Some
Well,
decisions are
some
not that
are.
deep.
Some are.
Some
Let's
are
break them
not.
down. Let's break them down because James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, breaks decisions down into three categories. He says they are hats, haircuts, and tattoos. A lot of things is just a hat. You try the hat on, you don't like it, you switch it, you move on, whatever. Those are decisions that are just so easy. So if you get it wrong, you put on another hat. Others are haircuts. You're gonna walk around looking stupid for a while if you make that bad decision. You get a bad haircut. It's awkward, but it's temporary, and it's also reversible. Then you let your hair grow back out, or you can fix it, but you're gonna suffer for a minute. You're gonna suffer looking stupid for a minute. And then, speaking of tattoos, then there are tattoos, and those are permanent. And those are the ones that you have to decipher um, and honestly put a lot of thought into. Get the feedback, get the data, and decide, hey, if I make this decision, it's going to be there forever. And then, I don't know, and then I just think some decisions we call tattoos, but they're really not. I
I
mean,
was going to say, like, I'm trying to think in my head a tattoo decision, like a legitimate tattoo decision. And there are not that many. I mean, obviously, I can think
marriage.
of a couple. Well, but that's not, I mean, listen,
You can
that's
get
a
divorced.
haircut. That's, yeah, but
You think of
I,
marriage as a haircut.
I do. Nowadays,
You
it is.
you think a marriage is a haircut decision? You're like
Yeah.
you're like, wow, this is a shitty haircut. I'm just gonna get rid of it.
Well, we've been divorced, and sometimes it's a good decision because it was a bad marriage. It wasn't healthy. It was all the
True.
reasons why, right? People don't get divorced because things are good. They get divorced because they suck, right? Um, so like, I don't think that a marriage is a tattoo because you can get out
Yeah.
of it and then you can get back in it,
Yeah. So
right?
what is a tattoo? Because even a tattoo,
So
even
I
a
think,
bad tattoo,
okay,
you can get covered.
so a tattoo decision would be breaking the trust with someone that you love. Like,
Okay.
I think for me, that would be a tattoo decision because
Mm.
even with apologies, even with being a better person, even with doing all the right things, you have fractured someone's heart. And
Mm-hmm.
that just doesn't come back. It
Mm-hmm.
fixes like one of those bowls that you put the gold in and the heart can be stronger, or maybe you could build around it, but that always stays. When
Mm-hmm.
you put 100% of your trust in someone and they break that trust, I don't think that it can ever be 100% repaired. So to me, that is a tattoo decision. I think it can be better, but I don't think and that's a decision that you make, right? Other than that, I don't really, I
Oh,
don't
so
think there's,
okay. I'll give you one. Here's a good one, and this actually comes back to courage and risk. Hey, I want to take our life savings and put it into a business XYZ.
tattoo.
That's a
That's
tattoo.
a
That's a
tattoo.
tattoo.
Well,
So
no, you know what? Wait a minute. No, it's not. How old are we? Because
uh,
if we're in our, but it could not be. I mean, if depending on what, the one thing you've always said to me when we were at points in our life struggling with money, and that's
mhm.
happened quite a bit, you always would say, when I would get crazy and be like, we can't spend any more money, you'd always look at me and go, we can always make more money.
Yeah, but also but now the bigger picture here is though it wasn't a life savings issue. It's like I'm talking about a tattoo decision is when you
Right.
say, I'm going to put everything I have into this. Like I'm going to put all my chips on the table and I'm going to
Okay,
do
you
this.
got that's tattoo.
That's a tattoo decision.
That's a tattoo
There's
decision.
never been a decision made. Like there's always been savings.
To be okay.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
there's never. I'm talking like jumping without a net and going. I'm going all in on X. That's a tattoo decision
That's a tattoo.
and so that's what we're talking about risk. And also you don't know the outcome. And people who have said, I lost everything. I lost everything by investing in XYZ and I have
Mm-hmm.
nothing. That's a tattoo decision. I'm not saying it's the wrong thing to do because there are some, I mean, gosh, big risk, big reward, right?
Yeah.
And there are a lot of people who've made big risks and they've got some major reward. I'm not very risk adverse. I am pretty, like I'm like, let's go, let's do it, but
Yeah.
never with gambling with my life savings, to go, okay, after this I'll have
No,
nothing.
no.
I always will, I will be conservative when it comes to,
Okay.
my
Having a
life, my
child,
finance.
that is having a
Tattoo.
child is a tattoo decision.
That's a tattoo. You're right. You're right. That's a good one. I don't know why we didn't think about that first. Yeah, you can't
Yeah.
undo that, and you can't. Yeah, you are. And and talk about like what you just said about a split second decision that breaks someone's heart. That's a split second decision that also is going to tether you to another person. If you're not married, that's a tattoo. Now there are people who will say though, "Hey, man, that tattoo." Actually maybe wasn't a decision. It was, maybe a whoopsie daisy. But also, turns out to be the best thing that's ever happened to them. So I don't even know if I would can we call that a decision though? Because an unexpected pregnancy is not a decision. Oh, it is a decision. It's a decision to not use protection. I'm talking myself out of it.
The things my sister-in-law, who's a midwife, used to say, if you're having unprotected sex, you want to get pregnant. So it's a decision that you make to have unprotected sex. But I just think, I guess the reason why I say a child is a tattoo is because it doesn't matter how old they are. They're always somebody you worry about. It's just, that's something that's forever. They are in our lives forever. And whether we're completely connected or despondent, whatever it is, they are still a part of who you are.
Mm-hmm.
So that to me is absolutely a tattoo decision.
Yeah, that's good. But I think the point that we're trying to make here though is, gosh, people are so scared to move when
right. Everything else is just a haircut.
Everything else is a haircut. It's like, right. You jump ship and, you go to that new job, you start that business again, just with the understanding that your whole life savings isn't in the investment, but you can pivot, and you can get a divorce. You're right. If you're unhappy, the longer that you stay in an unhappy place, I mean, your life is just tick-tocking away. Right. And so that's on you.
Everything's a haircut. That's my, you know what? I am going to get a t-shirt that says almost everything is a haircut.
Yeah. And like, just keep it vague like that. So then when people walk up to you, they're like, what the hell, what does that even mean? Right. So okay. So, I mean, I think that there is a myth of irreversibility that, like you said, let's divorce moving the house that we live in. I was like, all right, what's the worst thing that can happen? We can sell it. You can quit your job. You can, drop out of the degree program if it's killing you. So it's like, there's this psychological cement versus real constraint. And I think what most people fall into is the psychological cement. It's like, I'm stuck.
Yeah.
No, you're not. No, you're not.
And that's, you're just afraid to make the decision. But I think if people looked at life like, okay, 99.9% of my decisions is a hat or a haircut, they wouldn't be terrified.
Yeah, because you can just fix
because it didn't work out. I'm going to try something different.
Yeah, right. I love that. So I think that what we have to do is disrupt the inertia. I think that the first step, if you are paralyzed in a decision that you need to make, all you need to do is move. Like literally just move. Just make one, even if it's just like a micro decision that moves you towards it. Like a divorce is a great example of the fact that a divorce, it could potentially be a haircut. And so when people are like, I'm stuck, I hear that phrase all the time. I am stuck in this, but that's a fallacy. And so I understand that it might be difficult. I am not trying to downplay the pain. So my point here is that it is not easy. It's a severing that is painful, but on the other side, if you're happier, then it becomes worth it. And motion creates clarity. So if you're stuck in a place, a bad job, a bad relationship, you make tiny micro decisions and actions to get you out of it. And that might be opening up to a friend. that you're miserable and, getting some advice. It might be reaching out to a therapist. It might be tossing some little extra coin into a bank account so you can build up enough money to leave. What
If
do
I
you
got to
call
go
it?
fund,
You have it. I found out you have it. If I
I
got to go
do.
fund. I know. And once I found out about it, I was like, oh, can we buy a golf cart with that?
No.
So you can make small decisions that create clarity if you hate your job and you want to leave it and start your side hustle. So what are you doing on the side? Well, maybe you're, putting a business plan together. So you get the point. You
Yeah.
just need to move. You just have to disrupt your own inertia.
I think that that's the biggest key to all of it is wherever you are, just start moving.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Just start moving.
Move.
And it doesn't matter how slow or fast, but if you are in a place where you are not happy, just start moving. Whether
Yeah.
it's with your job, your partner, yourself, your physical health, your emotional well-being, insert whatever it is here, just start moving.
Yeah.
Baby
for sure.
steps. And you will feel better.
Yes, absolutely. And we also have to understand that experience is one after the fact. It's like you can never know how the outcome is going to be. But what you can do is once you get to that point, after you've made the decision, you can make an assessment. So, like, here's the cycle of decision making: decide, just make the decision, and then execute, maybe some small steps first, then adjust, and then repeat. That's it. That is the cycle to disrupt your own inertia. And to your point, it's momentum that changes everything. It's just one action and that keeps you going. So you are not paralyzed in inaction because, once again, not moving, not deciding, that is a choice in and of itself. So listeners, here is your challenge. Here's your call to action. I want you to identify something in your life that you have been avoiding, whether it is a big decision or a small decision or just one that you're grappling with. Like me, I am grappling with a decision that is keeping me up at night trying to figure out, and it's a haircut. It's a haircut. I get
It's
it.
a haircut.
I've been making it into a tattoo, but it's a haircut. And you just have to identify which category it's in. And that just helped me when we were talking about it this morning. I was not thinking about it as a haircut. I was like, no, this is a tattoo and it's bothering
It's a
me.
haircut.
And yeah, and you're like, it's a haircut. It's just a haircut. And now, is it risk adverse? Yes, it's risky, financially. But then identify. So that's your call to action. Identify. Is it a hat, a haircut, or a tattoo? And then take one action in the next 24 hours. That's it.
Love it.
That's it. Yeah. And follow us, tag us, and let us know if there's a decision that you have made. And if this helped at all. Probably not, because we're kind of a dumpster fire, but maybe it helps. Stop waiting for clarity. It's never coming.
We're just a haircut.
Yeah, it's just a haircut. And you can get that tattoo removed. There's modern technology. So yeah, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Until next time, keep on disrupting our fellow disruptors. Peace.
See you next time.
And that's a wrap on this week's episode of the Disruptors Creed, where we don't do average, and we sure as hell don't do status quo. It's produced by me, Kristen Ziman, because I like to be in control of everything. Musical score is by Ethan Reardon and Jake Ziman, because talent runs deep in this gene pool. If you like what you heard, do that thing. Click subscribe, like, follow, or whatever button keeps this chaos flowing into your ears. And if you didn't like it, you probably need it more than you think. Head over to KristenZiman.com and sign up for my weekly brain droppings, where I dump thoughts, disrupt your thinking, and hopefully light a fire under your ass. All conveniently delivered to your inbox every Monday. You're welcome. Now go out there and cause some good trouble. Until next time, keep on disrupting, my fellow disruptors. Onward and upward.